What I want to do here is show you the M function, how we get it in this picture. And we can, at the same time, we can see how it's related to a Hicksian demand function. This is a commodity space, right? It's quantity versus a quantity. And on the right, I want to track them together. More of the Marshall picture, a quantity versus a kind of relative price axis. And I want to draw demand curves over here corresponding to what we're doing on the left in the commodity space. So we're going to do that. So pick a quantity, let's say Q1. And there's 2 points that I'm interested in here. One point is where Q1 fits on the budget constraint, and the other point is where Q1 fits on the indifference curve. Obviously an indifference curve goes to the red point. That's how we got the red point. But there's also an indifference curve going through the blue point. Different utility level, but there's an indifference curve there. And what I want to do is see at these 2 points, what is the slope of the indifference curve? What is the marginal rate of substitution at the blue point? What is the marginal rate of substitution at the red point? That answers in price units, right? That's not a quantity, that's a price. So I've graphed it over here. What does it mean? The way I drew it here, I'm saying, well, the indifference curve slope is closer to 0. What's that?
It's a magnitude of the...
The magnitude. I've drawn the blue one as being a lesser magnitude than the red one. What am I assuming by drawing it that way? Could I have flipped it around? Could I made them on top of each other?
Yes.
Yes. So what does that mean? You just need to pull out one of your old answers from a few minutes ago.
Oh, really? I totally forgot.
How about one of your old answers from a few minutes? This is about income effects. Income effects are a property of preferences, right? So when we say there's no income effect, we're saying the indifference curves have the same slope no matter where we go vertically. The way I've drawn it here is, well, they don't have the same slope wherever we go vertically, so there must be an income effect. That's, this picture would be boring if we didn't have income effects, and I will tell you what it will look like without income effects. I did that for a Q2 as well. Same exercise. Give me a red dot, give me a blue dot. Let's measure the marginal rate of substitution. Do that at point A. That one's clear. They're the same indifference curve, so they have the same slope at the same point. And then you keep going, Q3 and Q4. Get something like that. The blue one is the one that I called M. So remember that M function was saying, as we move along E, or Y minus E, what happens to the slope of the indifference curve? The Hicksian demand function answers a different question. When I move along the indifference curve, what happens to the slope of the indifference curve? You're asking different questions. In general, you get a different answer. If this Q is a normal good, it looks like this. The Hicksian demand curve kisses the M function, has the same slope and the same point here at point A, but in general it'll be above. Now if there were no income effects, red and blue would crash into each other and they'd be identical everywhere. And a lot of what we do in industry problems, we ignore the income effects. So you wouldn't have to worry about this. Okay, so this is quantity versus price. And now I've drawn the right-hand side of our first order condition. Call it supply if you want. And I've drawn the left-hand side, call it demand. Demand slopes down for some of the usual reasons. Supply is sloping down because we have increasing returns. The marginal cost is lower at the higher quantities. I've also tracked here kind of the limiting cases. What would the price be if you spent nothing on H? What would the price be if you spent all your income on H? I've tracked those. And the reason I'm tracking them, if these two are close, I don't even want to be talking about today's lecture, right? We're interested in applications where the consumer can really push down the price in a meaningful way. So yeah.
Like they can push down the price at an individual level.
Yes. We will come back and talk about the market, but the title of this lecture was Personal Increasing Returns. So we're talking about individuals, yes. And maybe for that reason I shouldn't call it a price, I should call it the marginal cost. But yes. Okay, now I want